Yo guys, and as you can tell by the thumbnail and by the title of this video, we are going to be doing the Raw after Wrestlepalooza review. Last night's Raw was absolutely fucking amazing. As you can tell by the thumbnail, I did put the ratings of this week's Raw. If you didn't see it, I did indeed give this week's Raw again the same as last week's Raw. If you know what I gave last week's Raw, you will know that I also gave this week's Raw a 5 out of 5 because from start to finish, this Raw just ran so smoothly. Every match was a high 3 to a 4. All segments were like high 3s. Just all of the views as well were 3s. Just everything about this show was like a high 3 to a 5. So it was just such an enjoyable Raw after Wrestlepalooza and just ran so smoothly and didn't feel rushed like the SmackDown did that we just had with the one before Wrestlepalooza, so the SmackDown before Wrestlepalooza. That felt really like quickly put together by the matches we got and just how odd that SmackDown was. But this Raw just ran so smoothly from beginning to end. So a fantastic Raw. The only negative I have about this Raw that happened last night was that AJ Lee and CM Punk weren't on the show. Considering that this was the fallout of Wrestlepalooza, we didn't see any AJ Lee and CM Punk, considering the fact that AJ Lee submitted the Women's Intercontinental Champion. So that was the only odd thing, and plus it was her first win back in 10 years and she wasn't on the show. Just felt a little bit weird and a little bit of an odd decision. But at the same time, she is deserved of a week off to miss Raw that happened last night because it was her first match back in 10 years, and obviously she deals with a lot of things like mentally, so I think her to have like a week off after a big PLE, I feel like she can sort of what's the word I'm looking for? Take it in, because I understand that if someone that has autism that deals with like very similar things that people with bipolar deal with, which is what AJ Lee has, if you didn't know, it takes us like a long time to process shit when it's been a really good like thing that we've been involved in. You know, like when I go to wrestling, it takes me a long time to really like take it all in. I actually went, and I get very like overstimulated and very disassociated from it. So I understand that's probably how AJ's feeling. On a like a personal level, not on a like a wrestling level. Like her personally, I feel like that's probably what's going on. So I think that's why she wasn't on the show last night. So for that, I can totally understand that. But at the same time, it's a little bit weird that we didn't get like anything like AJ Lee and CM Punk, like not even like a post like interview. You know what I mean? Like they could have like in the middle of like Raw done like a post interview of AJ and Punk that happened after Wrestlepalooza and just add that into Raw somewhere. Probably that could have made Raw just that even more better than a middle of a 5 out of 5. It would have been a high 5 out of 5 because at least we got something with AJ Lee and CM Punk. It didn't have to necessarily be there to be a part of Raw, but could have done, you know, like a post interview after Wrestlepalooza after their match and then just included that. I know they've done the Wrestlepalooza press conference post show thing, but I meant like an actual like interview straight after the match, and then added that into Raw last night. But we didn't get anything AJ and Punk, which was a bit odd. But as I've explained, it makes sense, and AJ deserved a week off to process everything that happened at Wrestlepalooza, and she'll be on next week's Raw, which we'll get on to when we talk about next week's Raw. But yeah, so as I've said, I did give Raw last night a 5 out of 5. Let me know in the comments down below if you agree with me with this being a 5 out of 5 Raw. Personally, I felt like it ran really smooth, and I really fucking enjoyed it last night from start to finish, apart from that slight little negative of not having AJ, especially AJ, a part of it in some sort of way. But yeah. Anyways, we kicked off the show last night with the retaining WWE Undisputed Champion Cody Rhodes, because obviously he is going on to face the current World Heavyweight Champion Seth Rollins at Crown Jewel for the Crown Jewel Championship. I'm glad they've brought that back. Well, they did do it last year, didn't they? Yeah. I'm glad they're still doing that, even though it's not in Saudi Arabia this time, it's in Australia. I'm so glad they're still doing that. Seth Rollins interrupted Cody quite quickly. Seth Rollins has had Crown Jewel on his mind since he won the championship off CM Punk by cashing it in on him at SummerSlam. He said that it's champion versus champion. I'll let the best man win, and that man will be Seth frickin' Rollins, because I can guarantee you 98% of me believes that Seth Rollins is walking out as the Crown Jewel champion. But we're not going to get too much into that, because we will when I do my, obviously did the Crown Jewel prediction video. But a little brief, Seth Rollins is definitely winning against Cody Rhodes. CM Punk chant started because he said about, I don't know why the CM Punk's chant started. I think because he was going on about people hating him or something. And he doesn't care what people think of him. So CM Punk chant started on Seth really loudly. Seth says he knows what we think of him, but is wondering what Cody thinks of Seth Rollins. I wrote down a list of things that Cody Rhodes said about Seth Rollins. I actually wrote quite a lot for this segment. Like, all that I wrote for the segment last night on Raw between Cody and Seth Rollins, because I really fucking enjoyed it. It felt like a really, like, personal conversation that wasn't supposed to be heard, kind of thing. Like, it felt like they were having a really heart-to-heart, personal, like, alpha male conversation that men normally do, like, behind closed doors, kind of thing. Like, that's how, like, good it felt last night, because it felt so, like, personal and, like, secretive that we weren't really meant to be a part of that conversation, kind of thing. So I really fucking enjoyed it last night. I didn't give it a 5 because I felt there could have been a little bit more from Cody, but other than that, I gave it a really high 4 out of 5 because it was really enjoyable. But yeah, the thing Cody said about Seth is that it's complicated between those two. Seth changed his life because obviously Cody came back to WWE in 2022 at WrestleMania 38, and his first opponent at WrestleMania 38 was Seth frickin' Rollins. And he also said that he thanked him, changed his life as well for the match that they had at Hell in a Cell, where Cody was completely bruised, but had the best, probably one of the matches of the year that year, in 2022. And also, obviously, at last year's WrestleMania. Jeez, WrestleMania 40 feels like ages ago. Like ages and ages ago, not like a year and a bit ago. It feels like it was like years ago. But last year, obviously, Cody beat Roman Reigns for the WWE Undisputed Championship to finally bring the WWE Championship into the Rhodes family, with the help of Seth Rollins being Cody Rhodes' shield. So there was that as well. They had one more match as well, but I can't picture when that match was. I'm not gonna. I don't edit my Raw reviews because I like to keep my Raw reviews raw. No pun intended. So I will put it in the description, but I can't think off the top of my head when that third match was. I remember. I swear it was Seth Rollins was wearing pink gear when they had a match, and it was on like Raw or something. I don't know. I'm trying to picture when it was, but I'll find it and then I'll put it in the description down below when it was, if you guys have forgotten when that third match is as well, because obviously the WrestleMania 38 and the Hell in a Cell come to mind, and then Seth being Cody's shield, but I can't picture where the third one happens during that time. So I'll have a look and then I'll put it in the description. Said he had his wife on his podcast, because obviously Cody Rhodes has a What's Your Story? Yeah, What's Your Story? Podcast on YouTube every Wednesday, and Becky Lynch was one of the people that done the podcast with with Cody Rhodes. Well, Becky Lynch is Seth Rollins' wife, and she was on Cody's podcast. Okay, now so many names. And the last thing that I wrote down is that said that Seth is the best in the world, but shouldn't be with the bronze because he's better than that pretty much. And then Seth was quite annoyed with what Cody said at the end with Seth not needing the bronze because he's better than that. And then Seth obviously went on a rant about saying that that's not just what did he say? He said something like they're not just the bronze. They are Bron Breakker and Bronson Reed, the future of this company. Something along the lines of that anyway. He went on a bit of a rant about it. And then he spoke about Cody giving him a watch after WrestleMania 40 as a gift to say thank you for helping him become the new WWE Undisputed Champion and finally bringing the championship into the Rhodes family. Seth said, is the watch a real gift or is it just a fake gift just to be pay kind of thing? Can't remember the exact word he used, but yeah. Seth also said that because Cody Rhodes has been called the quarterback of the company or QB1 of the company, what does that make Seth? Because he said if Cody is the quarterback slash QB1 of the company, that means Seth Rollins is the coach and he should be working alongside Seth Rollins and should be working under Seth Rollins. Even though the WWE Championship is above the World Heavyweight Championship, Seth believes that the World Heavyweight Championship is above the QB1's championship in being WWE Championship. So, I would personally say Seth is a way better champion than Cody Rhodes is. And I do feel that Seth is the best champion in the company. I don't feel like it's Cody Rhodes. I feel like Seth Rollins is the QB1, not Cody Rhodes. I really do feel that Seth is the QB1, not Cody, because I just feel Cody is just not as good as Seth in the ring. Like nowhere near. Oh, I'm sorry, but nowhere near. Cody is good in the ring, don't get me wrong, but nowhere near as good as Seth Rollins. Like, no. If you guys have watched my top 10 wrestlers of all time, which I am going to do again, because I've got an updated list now with the top 10 male wrestlers and top 10 female wrestlers of all time. So I will be doing that again, because I think the last time I'd done it was like 5 or 6 months ago now, and a lot has changed since then, and loads of people have got better, and people are making their way up in my list in top 10 for women and men. So I will be doing that again soon, but I will tell you now, Seth Rollins hasn't changed. Seth Rollins, I think, will never be topped, I don't feel, in my opinion, of being the greatest WWE wrestler of all time. But yeah, that's my opinion. If you know me and you know how much I talk about Seth and how much I've said that I feel like he's the best in the world, then you would know that Seth, in my opinion, is the GOAT of the whole industry. But that's another story for another day. Yeah, that was the end of the segment of what I wrote down. Obviously, Cody left. Cody said some other stuff to Seth, and then he said during all those matches that they had, the 3 matches they had, it was 1-on-1. Is the match at Crown Jewel going to be 1-on-1? Or are you going to get your security involved or your team involved or something like that anyway? And then he left, and then Braun and Bronson kind of like stood in the middle of the ramp, but Seth told them to move out of the way, and Cody was able to walk freely without being attacked by the Vision. Like I said, I did give that a high 4 out of 5. Because I really fucking enjoyed it. It was an absolutely great segment and has made me so excited for their match at Crown Jewel. Because I didn't watch any wrestling in 2022. That was the first year since 2010 where I didn't watch any WWE apart from By the Game. A lot was going on in 2022. Probably was the perfect time for me to start fully watching it weekly again, because I stopped watching it weekly in 2020. when COVID hit. So 2022, considering some personal shit that was going on, probably was the best time for me to get back into it. But just so much was happening in that year that I just didn't have time to get back into it. So I haven't yet seen Cody versus Seth, but I feel like that third match was due in 2023, but I can't picture when. Maybe it was a qualifying match or something. I don't know. Like I said, I will put it in the description when that match was, because I'm for the life of me cannot remember when that was, apart from the other two. But anyways, yeah, 4 out of 5 segment, and yeah, excited for that match, Crown Jewel. And then the first match that we got on Raw last night was the New Day and Grayson Waller versus the War Raiders and Penta in a no disqualification match. I did give this match a 3 out of 5. Felt it was a very decent 6-man no disqualification match. We had some chair shots, we had table spots, we had an absolute scary looking Mexican destroyer from the top rope where Penta was able to pick up the victory over Grayson Waller, who was on the receiving end of that top rope Mexican destroyer that again looked fucking insane. But yeah, a really, really enjoyable 6-man tag. I'm hoping now that this whole Penta and New Day and Grayson Waller rivalry is done, and Penta can go on and feud with the likes of Rusev and Dominic Mysterio. Because I'm done with this now. Don't get me wrong, I'm not like I've not hated this New Day and Grayson Waller and Penta feud, because it's been very, very funny in moments, and all matches that we've witnessed with Penta and the Kofi Kingston and Xavier and Grayson Waller have been very decent matches to watch. But I feel like it's done now, and New Day can go on to have rivalries with the War Raiders, probably to, I don't know, try and get number 1 contender spot or something, and then Penta can go on to have a rivalry with Rusev and Dominic Mysterio, hopefully. But I guess we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, last night's match between all 6 of them was definitely a 3 out of 5. Was so enjoyable to watch. We did have the new Women's World Champion last night in Stephanie Vaquer on the show. She had a little mini segment. It wasn't very long. I did give it a low 3 out of 5 because obviously English isn't her first language, but I felt that she'd done very well in that segment, and you can definitely hear improvement every week that they allow her to do interviews and segments in English, that her English is very, very much improving. So I did give it a low 3 out of 5 last night because of her English and how well she's doing with that. She said that she's worked hard, she sacrificed and earned to be at the top of the women's division, which she has 100%. She said that she thanks Io because she is one of the best for the match that they had at Wrestlepalooza. She also thanked us for riding with her, and she did also thank her dad as well for being her hero. And she said that she will be at SmackDown because obviously we've got that triple threat between Jade Cargill, Nia Jax, and the current women's champion in Tiffany Stratton, because she's putting her title on the line, and obviously the winner of that match will go on to face Stephanie for the Women's Crown Jewel Championship in Australia at Crown Jewel. So I'm happy that Stephanie's going to be there. Definitely think that Tiffany is winning that triple threat. I can't see them going anywhere else. I mean, they possibly could give it to Jade, but personally, I want to see Tiffany versus Stephanie because I just feel like Tiffany, what the hell? Tiffany and Stephanie's style go a bit better together than Jade and Stephanie's style, Nia and Stephanie's style. So, to be honest with you though, I wouldn't mind any of them. But no, I won't want Nia Jax to be champion, so maybe not Nia Jax. But I wouldn't mind Jade Cargill was to win. But I feel like I prefer a Tiffany win, but I don't know. I guess we'll have to wait and see for Friday Night SmackDown on who Stephanie will face in 2 weeks Saturday at Crown Jewel. And then we had another very decent match between Bayley and Roxanne Perez. Halfway through the match, Bayley went into this different character and dragged Roxanne Perez by her hair and was able to pick up the victory. And then Lyra came into the ring to celebrate with Bayley, but Bayley was still in this state of like crazy that she just pushed Lyra over and shouted at Lyra to leave her alone. I have a little theory on where they're going with this AJ Lee, that's because I'm going to talk about AJ Lee, Bayley character. Because if you noticed, a couple of weeks before AJ Lee made her return to WWE, Bayley started playing this like mental like health character where she was dealing with hearing voices like in her head. No puns around the Orton, but she was hearing voices, right, telling her to do things and kind of like turning into like a different side of her, you know, like the evil side and the good side, right, of her. And then 2 weeks later, AJ Lee, or 3 weeks, might have been 3 weeks. 3 weeks later, AJ Lee made her return. What is AJ Lee very, very, very big on? Mental health. What character is Bayley playing? A mental health character. And I have come to the realization that Bayley is playing a bipolar character. Because if you look at it, she is all happy and is Bayley, like hugger Bayley, all happy, and then suddenly she just hears something in her head that makes her switch into a different person. Because that's exactly how AJ Lee describes her bipolar. She's April, and then she called her bipolar person someone else, like her personality somebody else. I can't remember the name of it. It was on the interview that she done with Renee for like almost 4 years ago. So I can't remember because I watched that when that came out. So I can't remember what the name of the person she calls her bipolar. But she calls it a different name, right? Calls her a different name, the bipolar side of her a different name. And that's what Bayley's doing. She's being all huggy and being Bayley, and then she's suddenly just out of the blue, like disassociated from herself, that she switches into a different Bayley and then just goes crazy on people for like no like valid reasoning, but she can't help it because that's her other side of her just coming out. And then she suddenly will switch back into happy Bayley. Oh yeah, I'm fine. And then she's not fine, and then she's fine, and then she's not fine. And I feel like down the line we're going to get interactions between Bayley and AJ Lee, and AJ is going to realise that Bayley is playing a bipolar character, which is something that AJ Lee on a real life personal deals with. And in a way, Bayley, this character she's playing at the moment, is taking the mick out of bipolar, because she doesn't actually have bipolar in real life. So in a way, she's taking the mick out of it by switching into being a nice person and being a horrible person, right? Not the same type of people with bipolar are horrible, but you know what I mean? Like they switch and they do stuff that is not them, kind of thing. And I feel like later down the line, AJ Lee's going to realise that Bayley's doing that, and she's going to snap on AJ Lee, setting up a rivalry between AJ Lee and Bayley down the line. And I'd be so fucking down for that, like so down. So that's my little theory that I clocked that's going on with Bayley at the moment, and I definitely feel that that's where it's going to go at some point. But yeah, we had some segments with Jey Uso where he was very aggressive towards Jimmy Uso. Jimmy then met up with Cody later on in the night and asked Cody to have a chat with Jey. But Cody did go up and have a chat with Jey, but Jey was eyeing up that championship. The whole time Cody was trying to have a heart-to-heart. And Cody is definitely turning into 2022 Roman Reigns, where he's just going to absolutely blow on someone, and we're going to get a full throttle heel Jey Uso. The championship pretty much has gone to his head. Because, you know, when Cody won it, he was on top of the world, and when he lost it, he kind of was slipping into the dark side a little bit when he wasn't champion, and I feel like that's exactly what they're doing with Jey Uso. And they've done that similarly with Roman Reigns as well. So I definitely think Jey Uso is turning into a 2022 Roman Reigns, and I am so fucking down to see it. So down. But yeah, and then the third match that we got on Raw last night was Jaden McDonough versus Rusev, again in a very decent one-on-one match between those two. I'm really intrigued to see where they're going with this whole Rusev and Judgment Day, because obviously they're all heels, so it's very intriguing to see how Rusev suddenly is feuding with a heel Intercontinental Champion. I mean, obviously heels do have rivalries, but it's not very often we get a heel versus a heel. So I'm very intrigued to see if Penta does introduce himself into this whole feud, or we just get a feud between Rusev and the Judgment Day for a while. But yeah, I'm very, very intrigued. But Rusev was able to pick up the victory, but Dom decided to not help JD, considering he was in the Accolade for a very long time, but Dom refused to get involved, causing Finn Balor to run down the ring to attack Rusev and have a go at Dom for not helping JD McDonough, causing arguments between all three of them. They're definitely splitting up the Judgment Day for sure, and I do feel like we're going to get a face turn by Dominic Mysterio soon, because the fans love Dominic Mysterio. Well, some of them do anyway. He kind of gets mixed. He kind of gets a bit of cheers and boos depending on where he is, but where they are. Sorry, not where he is. Where they are. But I definitely can see down the line all the Judgment Day turning on Dominic Mysterio. Which is going to be very interesting to see where all that goes. But yeah, again, third match of the night that we got on Raw last night, another 3 out of 5. Really decent to watch. We then got another decent match last night between Jey Uso and LA Knight. Finally, Raw didn't main event with Bronson Reed versus LA Knight, Bronson Reed versus Jey Uso, Jey and LA versus the Bronze, Jimmy and Jey versus the Bronze, Jimmy and LA versus the Bronze, Bron Breakker versus Jey, Bron Breakker versus LA Knight, Bron Breakker versus Jimmy, Bronson versus Jimmy. I think I said everyone and everything. Or even a 6-man tag between Seth and Bron Breakker and Bronson Reed versus LA, Jimmy and Jey, the Usos. We didn't get that as the main event of Raw. We actually got a match between Jey Uso and LA Knight in a one-on-one match, and it wasn't the main event. Even though, no, I wouldn't have minded if this was a main event, but because the Division got involved in this match, I'm glad this wasn't the main event, because none of the Division were a part of the main event, and I'm so thankful that Triple H and the creative team decided to not make this the main event. But yeah, the Vision did get involved, causing Jey to pick up the victory because he took advantage of the distraction caused by the Vision. And then Jey left the ring. The Vision was about to attack LA Knight. Jimmy came out to say that we need to go help LA Knight, but Jey refused to do that and just left. And then Jimmy picked up a chair, ran down to the ring to help LA Knight. I'm so looking forward to this Jey character. It's so intriguing. So intriguing. I'm so glad that we just didn't get the main event that we were meant to get. Because apparently we were originally going to get Seth and the Vision versus LA and the Usos in the main event. But I'm so glad that wasn't actually the main event of last night's Raw, and it was something completely different that was definitely way worth the main event. But yeah, I'm. Oh, that's what I was trying to. I kept carrying on the conversation of this match and what was going on because I was trying to think in my head what I was about to say. That's what I was about to say. We did have when Jimmy and Jey started arguing. Jimmy did go to speak to Adam Pearce about having a rematch for the against the Bronze, because obviously Bron Breakker and Bronson Reed picked up the victory at Wrestlepalooza. So Jimmy went to Adam Pearce to make that match for tonight, but Jey had already spoken to Adam Pearce to make a match between LA Knight, and that's when the argument started happening between Jey and Jimmy, because he wanted it to be a tag team match so that they can get revenge on the Bronze for beating them at WrestlePalooza. And also Jey wouldn't have to be as involved in this because it would be a tag, considering he, gashed his head open. He did it himself, not anyone else. But Jay went ahead and made a one-on-one match with LA Knight, putting himself at risk even more, because there's obviously more risk of you getting hurt and injured in a one-on-one match, considering the gash that he had, than he would have had in a tag team match alongside his twin brother Jimmy Uso. So yeah, that's what I was going to say. But I'm glad that we got Jay and LA Knight in a one-on-one match, because it was very decent. We also had a 4 out of 5 segment with Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins, because I personally really fucking enjoyed it. I say it was a low 4 out of 5. It wasn't a high 4 out of 5 like the Seth and Cody segment, but I really, really enjoyed this. It is looking like Seth is very, very, very close, not quite yet, but very close to snapping at Becky Lynch, because she constantly keeps going on about the fact that she's the greatest female wrestler of all time. It's not just me saying it. Sports Illustrated say it. The Chicago Times say it, or Chicago News, whatever she said. The Bleacher Report says it. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like very, very soon, not yet, but soon down the line, Seth is going to snap at Becky Lynch, because he won't snap at Ron Breakker and Bronson Reed and Paul Heyman, because that's his group, and he doesn't want to affect his group with the men in the group. But I do feel he's going to snap at his wife at some point, because they seem to be going down that route a little bit of Becky becoming really annoying, that Seth regrets bringing her into the division, and eventually Seth will snap at Becky Lynch. But yeah, Becky was ranting about AJ Lee, CM Punk, the Usos, Cody Rhodes, and then she also said at the end that she is going to deal with this. Presuming that next week on Raw, Becky Lynch will most likely open the show, maybe, and she's going to go on a rant about AJ Lee. Because obviously AJ Lee submitted her at a Wrestlepalooza. She's going to go on about the fact that Jess, the referee, that was the referee for that match, is very good friends with CM Punk. And she's going to say that it was, that they were against her, and they cheated, and this, that, and the third, and go on around about AJ, and she's going to make it official that at Crown Jewel, she's going to put her Intercontinental Championship on the line against AJ Lee, because she wants to prove that she is the best female in the world, because she was submitted by AJ Lee. So AJ Lee owed a Intercontinental Championship match, because she submitted the IC champion at Wrestlepalooza. And then Becky's going to try and prove how good she is in the ring by pinning AJ Lee at Wrestlepalooza. But I can see AJ Lee having the upper hand on Becky, that Seth gets involved, but Becky will be quite annoyed at Seth in a way for getting involved, because she wants to prove that she can do it on her own against AJ. But it would then work, because AJ Lee could have a rematch down the line, because Seth got involved and cost AJ Lee the Intercontinental Championship. So I can definitely see them going down that route. But it was such a good segment, and I really, really enjoyed it, and gave it a low 4 out of 5. On next week's Raw, we have Rusev versus Dominic Mysterio for the Intercontinental Championship. Cannot wait to see that. We also have Bayley versus the other half of the women's side of Judgment Day in Raquel Rodriguez. We have the Usos versus the Vision, Bron Breakker and Bronson Reed, in a tornado tag match. Kind of similar to the match they had pretty much the same match that they had at Wrestlepalooza. Pretty much it is a Wrestlepalooza rematch. So I'm not bothered that it's going to be the same, because it is a Wrestlepalooza rematch, so it's supposed to be the same. So I'm excited for that, because I'm hoping that after this rematch, that Bronson Reed and Bron Breakker pick up the victory again. That Bronson and Bron Breakker have now picked up 2 victories, have 2 victories, against one of the best tag teams in the world, that they can now feel like they are earned like a tag team championship opportunity against the Judgment Day. So they can go on and have a feud with the tag team division, and Jimmy and Jay will continue to argue and have this back and forth alongside LA Knight getting himself involved in it somehow. But yeah, that's where I can see that going. And then we also have AJ Styles and Dragon Lee, AJ Lee, versus 2 of the Americanos. I can definitely see it not being Ludwig Kaiser. I can definitely see it being the other 2, which I presume are Tyler Bate and Pete Dunne, but I'm not 100% sure on that one. But I think it is them. It looks like them, anyways. Which I'm very intrigued to see. Hopefully they get unmasked. Would love to see that, but I don't think they will just yet. I think they're going to carry on this Americano trio for a while, up to Chad Gable returning. And then maybe they'll do the Grande Americano faction versus Grande Americano and the American Made faction, and then the loser has to unmask, kind of thing. I feel like that's where they're going to go with that. And I also, on next week's Raw, can see them doing Kairi Sane versus Io Sky or Rhea Ripley. One of the 2. Probably Io Sky. So probably next week on Raw, we're going to get Kairi Sane versus Io Sky in a one-on-one match. And then the week after that, we'll probably get Kairi Sane versus Rhea Ripley, or Asuka versus no, I feel like I said that Asuka versus Io Sky in a one-on-one later on down the line. So I feel like they're going to do Kairi Sane versus Io Sky next week, and then the week after that they'll do Kairi Sane versus Rhea Ripley, and set then at some point in the next couple of Raws, obviously in the next couple of Raws, because there's only 2 more Raws before Crown Jewel, that they make it official that at Crown Jewel we will get the Kabuki Warriors in Asuka and Kairi Sane versus Rhea Ripley and Io Sky in a tag team match. And will I be down for them to have a tag team match with one another? Yes, the fuck I would. 100%. And it'll be another match right that I get in my Crown Jewel predictions that will be out on Thursday. So look forward to that, guys. Just thought I'd plug that in a little bit. But yeah, so I'll see that Kairi Sane and Io match, or Kairi Sane and Rhea hasn't been actually official, but the other 4 matches have. And Raw, alongside Becky and AJ possibly having a battle promo next week, Raw is looking to be fucking amazing next week as well, if all those matches are really enjoyable to watch. So I'm so excited for Raw next week. So excited. And then the main event of Raw was something different for the first time in like 5-6 weeks, maybe even longer. And it was the WrestleMania 37 rematch between Asuka and Rhea bloody Ripley in a 4-star match, because this was definitely by far the best match of the night. In out of all 5 matches that we got last night on Raw, this by far was the best match by a mile. So fucking enjoyable to watch throughout the whole thing. Very, very 50-50 throughout. Such an enjoyable main event. Give it to me again and again, because it was so fucking good, and I would love to see Asuka and Rhea Ripley have a rematch down the line. We had a few near falls as well to some of the signatures and finishers. Kairi wouldn't hurt Rhea at first. I have put down here actually Kairi versus Rhea next week, which I probably can see them doing Kairi versus Rhea actually instead of Kairi versus Io next week instead, because of what happened between Kairi and Rhea before, because technically Kairi did try and hit Rhea but end up waiting too long that Rhea was able to stop it from happening, and then obviously Kairi did then attack Rhea at the end of the match when Asuka got beat by Rhea. So I can definitely probably see them doing Kairi versus Rhea instead of Io versus Rhea actually. Io versus Rhea, Io versus Kairi. So yeah. But yeah, because obviously Asuka was telling Kairi to hit Rhea when Asuka was dispatching the ref. She took too long to do it, that Rhea stopped her from doing it. Asuka came running across the ring, but instead of bumping Rhea out the way, she bumped Kairi out the way, causing Rhea to then roll Kairi over, causing Asuka to lose against Rhea Ripley, and then the brawl started with Kairi attacking Rhea Ripley. Actually, no, Asuka missed Rhea Ripley, and she literally turned into an avatar. Like, she was covered from waist to head in blue. Like, I've never seen the Mist do that much damage before, but she was absolutely covered. And then Asuka and Kairi started beating down Rio, because of Io coming out, Rhea, therefore making Io come out to make the save to stop Asuka and Kairi from beating up Rhea. But we finally got the heel turn that we've all been waiting for, and Asuka turning on Io Sky, beating down Io. Kairi Sane was then upset because you can see on Kairi's face that she looked like she wanted to cry, but she was doing what Asuka wanted her to do, and she was beating down Io Sky. What a match to end Monday Night Raw, and what a way to end Monday Night Raw. A fantastic ending to Raw, and a fantastic Raw overall. Really fucking enjoyed it. Cannot wait for next week's Raw, because all 4 matches that are already happening on next week's Raw, and the potential of AJ Lee and Becky Lynch having a back and forth promo with one another, and also the possibility of getting Kairi Sane versus Rhea Ripley, or even Kairi Sane versus Io Sky next week as well, and just so much more that could happen on next week's Raw. I am beyond excited, and this whole Jay and Jimmy in LA situation as well. It's looking to be such a good Raw next week, hopefully. But yeah, guys, as you can see, this has been a 41-minute review of Monday Night Raw. Goes to show how good last night's Raw was. It really does. Because it was so good from start to finish. Like I said at the beginning of this episode of the review, the only negative I have about last night's Raw is that AJ Lee didn't have anything to do with this Raw. I do feel that they could have at least done a backstage interview with AJ Lee and CM Punk after their victory at Wrestlepalooza, like straight after their victory at Wrestlepalooza, and then incorporated that into the Raw at some point, whether it was at the beginning of Raw, the middle of Raw, or towards the end, like just before the main event, of AJ Lee just having like a 5-6 minute promo with her husband CM Punk, just speaking about the victory and her feelings on it. We probably should have had that. I don't mind that AJ Lee wasn't on the show at all, like actually on the show, because like I've said at the beginning, I understand that she needs time to process things because of her like bipolar disorder. So she wasn't on the show. I'm not too bothered about that, but I do feel that she should have done an interview straight after her match at Wrestlepalooza, and then that was incorporated into the Raw last night. But it is what it is. We have Becky trying to make things right next week, because that's pretty much what she said in the segment with Seth last night. So I can guarantee you that Becky Lynch is going to go on a rant about AJ Lee and the ref and CM Punk and all that, and then AJ Lee will come out and we'll get a match at Wrestlepalooza, no we won't. We'll get a match at Crown Jewel in Australia between AJ Lee and Becky Lynch for the Intercontinental Championship, because like I said, Becky will want to prove herself that she is the best IC champion in the world, and she is the best woman in the women's roster, WWE, and the best female wrestler in the world, kind of thing. So I can definitely see all that happening on next week's Raw, and I would be so fucking down for them two to have a match at Crown Jewel. Definitely, 100%, definitely. But yeah, guys, that is the end of the Raw review. Like I said, do you agree with me in it being a 5 out of 5, or do you believe it was good but could have been better? So you gave it a 4 out of 5. Do you feel that it was decent? There was a few matches that you enjoyed and a few segments you enjoyed, but it wasn't quite a 4 out of 5, so you gave it a 3 out of 5. Do you believe it was meh? There wasn't really much that you enjoyed, but there was like a couple of things, so you gave it a 2 out of 5 because you don't feel like it was that bad, so you gave it a 1? Or do you think that this was the worst Raw of the year? You wish this Raw never happened. You will never go back and watch anything to do with this Raw, and you gave it a 1 out of 5. Like I've said multiple times, personally for me, this probably has been one of my favourite Raws this year, because like I said, it ran so smoothly from beginning to end and was just put together perfectly. Like everybody played the roles they were meant to play in matches, in backstage segments, in interviews, and in ring segments, absolutely perfectly. And one more time, like I've said multiple times, the only negative I have is that AJ didn't do a backstage interview after her match at Wrestlepalooza, and that was not included in this Raw, like at some point during the Raw last night. But other than that, what a fantastic Raw. very, 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 very excited for Raw next week. Like I said, there will be a early Crown Jewel prediction video coming out on Thursday. I filmed that on Sunday, so that will be out Thursday, the day before the triple threat between Tiffany, Jade, and Nia. So hopefully I get it right, because I did say in my one match I did say in my Crown Jewel video was that I think it'll be Tiffany versus Stephanie at Crown Jewel. So hopefully I get that right. That means I think 3 out of 3 at the moment for my Crown Jewel early predictions. So yeah, see if I get the other 3 matches correct that I won't speak about. But yeah, guys, I will be doing a SmackDown after Wrestlepalooza review as well. Obviously after SmackDown, so that will be out Saturday. And I also, like I said, will be doing a updated top 10 men wrestlers of all time and a top 10 women wrestlers of all time. Maybe a tag one, but no, I don't think so. I don't think I'll do a tag yet. I don't know. Maybe, possibility. And I also will be doing a wrestlers I've seen live video as well, because I have 11 pages, well, 11 notes on my phone of wrestlers I've seen live. So I will be doing a video on that as well. So look forward to that when that comes out. But anyways, guys, I hope you have enjoyed this Raw review. Make sure to comment down in the comments down below your ratings for this week's Raw and what was your favourite moment from Raw last night. And yeah, guys, I will see you in my... Wait, hang on. This has been Charlie, and I will see you guys in my next video. Peace.